Hello, this is Charles Scoville, your Golden Harvest agronomist, with your Focus Friday here for May the 19th. And as we think about the agronomy focus for today's discussion, I want to hit on three different items: seed planting depth, soil crusting, and a little bit on heat unit accumulation. So, first of all, I've been getting a lot of questions on how deep should I be planting my seed when we're planting into dry soils in the middle of May. So, I put together a video yesterday and put that out on YouTube. Make sure you check that out. But the basics we were talking about is, corn, we like planting at 2 inches, soybeans, inch and a half, 2 inches. So, in general, how do we change that when we're thinking about dry soils and mid-May soils? And so on corn, we definitely want to get that corn down into the moisture. So if that means I'm going 2.5 inches, maybe a little more, I'm perfectly fine with that. The reason for that is getting that uniform moisture gives us a better chance of uniform emergence. And as we all know, getting that corn all to emerge within a 24-hour period or so creates the potential for more yield. So that becomes critical. On soybeans, it's interesting that historically some varieties of soybeans have a genetic tendency to have shorter or longer hypocotyl length. And so if we put soybeans too deep in the ground, we can actually put them in deep enough that we won't see them again. So even if we don't quite get them into moisture, moisture eventually will come. In fact, we're talking about some moisture hitting us here tomorrow, Friday here. And getting those in, though, inch and a half, 2 inches consistently, I think is still our best bet for our soybeans. So take a look at that video and see what you think. The second item on the agronomy focus is under soil crusting. So just the last couple days, been getting questions and some replant calls on both corn and soybeans because of crusting issues. So the first question always is, let's pull out the rotary hoe. Is that going to fix the problem? And I like the tool as a rotary hoe, but keeping in mind that usually once we realize we've got a problem, it's too late to pull out the rotary hoe. It's really a better tool used to prevent crusting before we have a problem. And so it can be used now, but we want to be careful not to tear up more of a stand than what we fix along the way. So when do we have an issue? If you see that corn when you dig it up and it's all kind of curled up and you can see that the leaf is starting to bust out of that sheath around the tip of that starting corn plant, is probably going to have a hard time having enough push power to get out of the ground. And so if they're broken up like that underground, we're almost going to count them as dead, count them as not making it out of the ground. And so if we're looking at, do we make a replant, now we want to count the seeds that are viable, or the plants that are viable, and use that in our mathematical equations. And usually around the middle of May, we want to have probably 25,000 plants per acre uniformly positioned out there to keep that stand. And of course, on corn, there is no filling in. If we're going to replant, we need to destroy the current stand and start over again. Once we get here another week or two, we could stand only 20,000 plants per acre out there and still be financially better than trying to replant that full stand in June. On soybeans, we do have the potential of thickening up that stand, and if we aren't seeing the emergence we want out there, we can add a little bit out there, usually hitting it on an angle instead of straight down the same rows we've been on before, and accomplish an improvement in our stand. The third item on the agronomist focus is about heat unit accumulations, and I actually ran the numbers for the Lansing area, and we've hit almost 100 heat units of accumulation just in the last 2 weeks, which is just tremendous. That means that crop that's been in the ground a couple weeks should be at or real close to emerging, and we'll be looking forward to hopefully a nice uniform stand with that as well. And again, if we get this rain on Friday, they're calling for anywhere from 1/4 to 2/3 of an inch across the state. Should be just ideal for what we want to see. So that's the agronomy focus. We want to switch gears here to a little bit of corn and soybean product focus. And the corn I want to talk about this week is our 08R52. So this is really my first choice for full season corn across Michigan, mainly because it's just so broadly adapted. And I was riding combines the last couple of years with folks harvesting the 08R52, and it's just a joy to harvest. The stand is good, the yields are excellent, and part of this, let's get into the details. It's got a semi-flex ear, so it gives us a lot of population flexibility. If you run the numbers on that through Illuminate, what you'll find is it'll actually give recommendations on poor soils all the way down around 28,500, and it'll allow us with the stalks underneath this to push that up into the upper 30s. But for the most part across our variable soils in Michigan, 32 to 34,000 plants per acre really covers the gamut of a majority of the planting populations of that hybrid. When we get the real numbers and start to see that it's got a 2 for both root strength and stalk strength, that also helps us in managing our harvest and being able to maybe push this one back a little bit later if we do get delayed in harvest and not worry about that thing still being there for us. But I love the 2 on the drought tolerance. So part of that gives us a reason to believe, because of that modified root that it has, it's able to go and find that moisture and nutrients and really create the yield. It's not a real tall corn, so 5 on plant height and 5 on ear height gives us just a real moderate plant type out there. But we do want to watch a little bit of the situation if we put it on really fertile soils or soils that are heavy in disease pressure, because it can get some gray leaf spot and a little bit of fusarium crown rot. And so those really fertile soils maybe aren't the first place I'd put this. We also want to watch our corn on corn acres, because without a rootworm trait in there, we're going to find other ways to manage rootworm if we're going to use this hybrid in that situation. But the Viptera trait gives us great protection for our black cutworm, western bean cutworm, earworms, those types of things. So make sure you get some 08R52 on your full season soils here in Michigan. And again, love that hybrid. On the soybean side, let's talk about today the 1973 E3s. So that is the early choice for Peking source of soybean cyst nematode resistance. And so it fits really solid in a package with the 1922 E3s and the 2292 E3s as a product that we're going to put on those bean-on-bean acres. We're going to put on those acres that guys maybe have been planting PI 88788 cyst resistance for the last couple of years and want to diversify that source of resistance. Detail-wise, it's a medium in height and a medium in width for its canopy. So really we can plant it at any row width, but loves those 15 and 30-inch rows. And we look at the populations on that. If we are going to drill it, we can drop those populations a little bit, maybe down around 120,000 plants per acre and pushing more than 130,000 plants per acre on the wider rows. And we think about agronomic traits on this. It works on both ends of the season. 3s on emergence and standability allows us to plant it early, and a 1 on shatter tolerance allows us to have an opportunity for some delayed harvest if need be for the 1973 E3s. Soil types really pretty broadly adapted, good on those variable to drought-prone soils, but really likes the highly productive soils and gives a best rating for that. And so, again, really like the 1973 E3S, gives us that broad adaptation and gives us that Peking source of resistance. So be sure to be considering that as well. And for all the full details on each of these products, take the time to look up the tech sheets at the www.goldenharvestseeds.com. So, again, this is Charles Scoville, your Golden Harvest agronomist, with your Focus Friday here on May the 19th. I wish everybody the safe and quick finish to this year's planting season. Call if you have any questions. Have a great day.